Weird science is the revolution.
Duke, number 5, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Tom Riley, colors by Jordi Belair and Russ Wooten on letters, and the art is fantastic. I really like the art. I saw originally that people were not liking the art. I don't know what they're looking at if they don't like it. It's so good, and the onomatopoeia is done so well. You even have some flashbacks in here, but when you start out, there's Duke. Duke got taken. He got grabbed by Destro, and he is at the point fighting a battle android trooper as Colonel Hawk is yelling at Clutch saying, "Where's Duke? Where the hell is he?" And through all of this, you ended up having Colonel Hawk, right behind and always chasing down, trying to recapture Duke. By the end, everything makes more sense, but they're desperate on the trail of Duke, and you almost figure at this point they better find him quick. Because where you have this battle android trooper with this giant claw pretty much about to just cut off, it looks like, Duke's head. It's crazy. And then we pan back. And when we end up seeing Destro watching it, so good. Cool. And I love the idea that he's there and he's got the controller and he's kind of working this the battle android trooper. Almost like it's like fun for him. It's a little, R&D. He's there. He's watching Duke getting taken down. And they're not that impressed with Duke at this moment. They will be, but what I am impressed with is just the classy look of the Destro, who looks like he's a rapper in my mind. Yeah. I love it. He looks so...
I think he looks so good like this.
Yeah, he looks so cool. The thing is, he doesn't just look evil. He looks evil in a way of like kind of piece of crap evil. Yeah. But he looks cool, though. I actually like his
look how far down his shirt's buttoned.
Oh, my God. He's showing it all. It's great. I'm telling you, it's the evil in the way of you're like, oh, you jerk. But I'm more mad at him because he looks better than me with that crazy head of his. So angry.
He has a metal head, and yet he still looks so sexy.
Yeah, exactly. So you end up where Duke is getting just tossed around by this trooper. As Destro then goes and says, hey, we meet face to face. I've been wanting to meet you. Look at what I have, my family, this weapons, all this stuff. I am going to rule the world. And you know what? I kind of want to have you join me because we're against the same people. Now, at this point, Duke is on the run. Duke has lost his buddy, Tyler Frost. All this, but the problem is Duke's so mad at everyone. And who else would he think? If he ends up seeing a Transformer and doesn't know it's a Transformer, he immediately thinks that it's something that Destro made. And he says, I ran into your crazy Transformer nonsense, and it killed my friend, and I'm going to kill you. I'm going to take you out. And you do see, in a way, that Joshua Williamson does pretty well. It feels more than just, oh, my God, Tyler, right? It did end up, that's the huge thing. But when you see the Starscream stuff, and he says, there was a robot that turned into a jet, and I know it's yours. That's something so crazy to see. It's almost like he has some PTSD already from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't just think of this to say, oh, man, I'm mad or I miss Tyler. He gets enraged when he thinks of Starscream and he sees these, and really well done, the flashbacks and the art. He freaks out. He does a little more as they go. But there's the great play, and I'll give it to you after this, because then he says, like, you see Duke is actually surprised. Like, what? You want me to join you? Like, that's not what we do. And he's like, no, come on, join me. It wasn't me. I didn't make that robot. And Duke seems to think he believes him. Like, it's one of those things that if it was Destro, I think Destro would be laughing and saying, oh, yeah, that's mine. I mean, it's the greatest thing. But when he says Destro wouldn't, if he's not going to take credit for it, it probably isn't his. And it does shock him. But Destro says, join me. And he puts out his hand, and Duke grabs his hand. I'm like, oh, is this where we're going with this? This is crazy, because we have a Destro book coming up. And I'm like, okay, Duke with Destro. And then you go from there, because it doesn't last very long, right?
I know. So Duke grabs his hand and then headbutts. And Destro's like, are you insane?
Yeah, I mean, why would you headbutt Destro? But that's how angry he is. I love the idea where all the onomatopoeia, all the sound effects, and what you get from a headbutt is clang.
That's what you would have, clang.
He's in concussion protocol like times 20 now, because he already was. But with the idea that Destro, says, okay, if you're not going to join me. Also, I think he's like, you know what? I think I overestimated you. A guy who ends up headbutting me, not a guy I want on my team. Like that's just stupidity. And we need to move on from here. But he just says, okay, whatever. That's your deal. If you're going to do that, so be it. He walks away, hits the battle android trooper again, and you go from there. Because then Duke is just like, at one point, he is like using it as a punching bag, but it's punching back more.
Oh, yeah, it is definitely kicking his butt. Then it takes off its claw feature so it can have a flamethrower. and so while that's happening, Destro is just talking to the other guys, and he's like, okay, dispose his body once the bat's done with him and everything. And his henchman's like, oh, we have a bigger problem, boss. Whatever Duke had, the tech, it pinged again. He might be followed. And so as that's going on, we see Duke grab a gun from like a weapons crate he was thrown into, and he's like, I gotcha now, and he pulls the trigger, but there's no ammo. He's like, kidding you? Why are y'all practicing gun safety? Are you
gun
serious?
Safety. I get you're not going to ship guns with bullets, but he's hoping with it. Now, the one thing I did, a couple things here, and it's scrap iron that he eventually says, blow this place up. It'll be a good tax write-off. We'll get out. When you end up having the battle android trooper, it's so cool because it pretty much is an action figure now, where he ends up taking off the claw feature, puts that down, and then grabs, now it's a flamethrower. It was so cool. But yeah, they're going to blow up this place with Duke in it, and Duke's got to get out, but I'll give it back to you. The battle is really good. I mean, the fight with it, and it's so well choreographed that you see the craziness of what Duke is doing, especially what he ends up thinking would be the end, right?
So what happens is, because the gun's empty, he ducks from the flamethrower, smashes the gun, and breaks it. He shatters it against the bat trooper, and then he proceeds to jump on its shoulder, grab underneath its head, and start yanking it up. And he's like, you run on batteries, I run on good old American manpower. And he just starts pulling and pulling until he rips the head and the spinal column out of the robot. And it's so cool because and it makes sense. I mean, usually you'll have this and you might say, okay, I get the end, but when he climbs up the back of the bat trooper and then reaches under the helmet, and it makes complete sense. And he is struggling to pull it out. Pulling with all his strength.
And he does it, and there's, electricity and everything going. And like, that was an awesome, wait a minute. And he's so mad. He's there, he's holding the head and the spinal column, and the thing is like, all right, we're still fighting here. And with that, it's just going crazy with the flame.
It's just shooting wildly.
Yeah, so what ends up with his, all-American manpower, what really ends up helping is when, again, he thinks back at Tyler getting killed by Starscream and really takes it out on this point. I mean, the Bat Trooper obviously is not good, right? But I feel bad for it now because he didn't do anything. He's just doing what he was programmed to do. And boy, Duke just takes it out on him and
he's taking the severed head and he's just beating it into the battery pack of the bat. And every time he hits it, you just see a flashback of Starscream killing Tyler Frost. And it's so good. It's just so good.
He takes him out. He just destroys him. And he's like, I did it. And it is one of those, like, I did it for you, Tyler. Peace out, whatever. But that's where Destro's getting out of there. And yeah, he says, I got you. I got you, Frost. I got you. Let's go home. But boom, the whole place blows up. Okay, so already in this, we've had what normally could have been two cliffhangers. You could have had the just join me and the hands coming together. That'd be a great cliffhanger because, oh my God, did he join? Right, and then you get to the next one when he clangs them. Then we get the base blowing up with Duke in it. Great cliffhanger. But we're only halfway through, really. And it's so good, and that's how crazy it is. And we go to a deal where seems like they found the body. They're announcing that, yes, Duke, who, was framed a bit. He was on the run, but he's going to be buried in Arlington. I thought they were going to put a real American hero, but they just say he's an American hero. And even the quote from Colonel Hawk, which at this point you think like, oh, that jerk, he's playing it up like, we know that he's bad, but he isn't. Because then Duke wakes up. He is in a hospital. He's alive. There you go. Spoiler. I'm telling you, I thought maybe they would because this is the last issue of the series. Maybe they'll bring him back. But no, he's there. And he's chained to the bed. And in walks Scarlet and Colonel Hawk. And, you end up where Duke's pissed and he curses. Hey, don't curse in front of the ladies. But then he explains this. Yeah, and he explains, this has all been a thing. And it's the classic of, I was just trying to help you. You didn't realize. And then, yeah, Joshua Williamson has to but he makes sense. It is. I knew what was going down. I couldn't tell you right away because you would have acted different. I was trying to get you. We were trying to get, and you going and you exposed Destro a bit. All this worked to plan, maybe not Tyler, but still this idea of the, crazy him and Starscream. He still is, pissed at that, whatever, but they take him off to the base. There's Clutch there. And when you go back to the deal, when you did have Colonel Hawk come in, he's like, where is he? Where's Duke? And Clutch is like, it makes sense. And like when you go back, it still feels a little bit of a dupe, but you can kind of make sense of that whole thing. And then they end up explaining it, obviously, to Clutch. And they have this base. Now, Duke doesn't want to be involved. He says, this is bull crap. I don't want to be involved with this crap anymore. I don't trust anybody. I'm against everybody. You're all a bunch of hooey. But the big thing that keeps him is that Duke, has this, and even Scarlet and Colonel Hawk explain that thing that you saw that was the transforming robot into a jet. That's nothing because you go from there because they show him big stuff now.
Yeah, so they say our drone caught surveillance of this a few months ago and we see Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it's Optimus Prime. And they're like, okay, what are we going to do about this? What do you want to do? And how are we going to deal with this? And he says, we destroy them all, Duke says. And so at this point, it is setting up, and you have Destro, you have Scarlet, you have Hawk, everything, Clutch. You're setting up the G.I. Joe big book that we'll eventually get to. But at this point, it isn't like, oh man, we recognize those good robots and we'll be the Transformers with this. No, and in Duke's mind right now, he's going to kill any machine that I've told you before we started. He's going to go make a burrito. He'll hit that stupid microwave and he'll destroy the microwave because instead of the burrito, he'll see Starscream. Like he's so angry at any bit of machinery, especially things that transform, and they wouldn't know. Why would they know the difference between an Optimus Prime and a Starscream or a Soundwave? And because they don't know the politics of the androids there or the Transformers. And I think that it's going to be, U.S. government G.I. Joe's, at least initially, full out war against any Transformer, anything with that. And in the meantime, we still have the battle for the Energon, all that stuff. But boy, at this point, you're getting individual books. I said to you before, it feels like the Marvel Cinematic Universe where you're setting up individual characters to get to the big movie. But in the meantime, you have the Transformers stuff, and it feels like such a connected universe in a way that a lot of things don't get that. It's not just, end scenes. Destro is in this whole thing. We had Destro at the end of the Cobra Commander last week, but we have all the stuff going on with the Transformers. It's so good. It is really good.
It's really
good. It's a shame that this book had to be just 5 issues. I wish that this one, and when it was originally announced, I thought it was an ongoing that would then morph into a bigger G.I. Joe deal. But until we get more of it, and I'm assuming, obviously, that we'll have Duke show up in the Scarlet book and even the Destro book, the way they play it out. But I'm gonna miss this book now because it is so good. After this issue, I'll tell you, everybody and I would say that the Transformers, this might be my favorite book of them all now, especially after this issue. I want more of flipped out seeing Starscream Duke just smash the hell out of things, and it's so good. And even every character is well developed so far as well. But what would you give it?
You know what, Jim? I'm going to do a 9.5. I really enjoyed this issue.
I'm telling you, I was reading it at the end. I had to sit there and think to myself, why am I not going to give it a 10 out of 10? I'm going to go 9.8.
Okay, all right.
The art is great. It's really good.
It is really
it's
good.
One of the best books. This final issue steps it up a lot and really ties it into a good finale for a 5-issue mini, but also a great issue that you want more from the other books as well. So I'm with you. It's really good. Yep. People should read it, and it's easy to catch up on. Only 5 issues.
Yeah,
so, grab it, catch up, and it's really, really good.
Weird science is the revolution.